Dialog Box 1.2. 1.50 The law of murder applies to intentional or deliberate killings, while the law of manslaughter applies to negligent, reckless, or accidental conduct that results in a person's death. Manslaughter reveals several gray areas in the legal definition of crime. One variation of manslaughter is culpable driving, which involves the negligent or reckless use of a motor vehicle that causes death. Between June 2009 and June 2014, 62 people were convicted of culpable driving in Victoria. These offences resulted in an average term of imprisonment of 5.92 years. Sentencing Council of Victoria 2015. In many competitive sports, an untimely death resulting from a clear risk or harm is most likely to be viewed as an unfortunate accident rather than a criminal offence. There are rarely calls to lay manslaughter charges when an athlete dies during a sports competition, despite well-recognized risks of serious injury or death that are comparable to many other forms of employment. SAR 2007. Debates about protecting athletes usually focus on introducing changes to the sports rules rather than invoking the criminal law. For example, in November 2014, New South Wales cricketer Philip Hughes was struck in the head while batting and later died from his injuries. Knox 2015. In response to this incident, the sports governing bodies altered the design of protective helmets and introduced new rules to limit the prospect of head injuries to batters. These measures contrast with calls to ban certain combat sports, such as boxing, after a person dies as a result of injuries sustained during competition or training. Haxton 2015. From Second File 8E473640-, research in the United States US indicates around 27% of all police killings of unarmed citizens began with a traffic stop, which disproportionately involves the over-policing of cars driven by people of color. CO 2019, 11. However, available statistics fail to record about half of all police killings in the U.S. Zimring 2017, 159. Such deficits in basic reporting can result in a lack of accountability for the excessive use of force by police. This accountability gap is linked to broader questions about whether the criminal law should be applied more equally to enhance investigations into, and limit the extent of, lethal force used by police, especially against minority ethnic populations. In 2022, extensive Australian and international media coverage documented several organised protests questioning the acquittal of Northern Territory Police Officer Zachary Rolfe for the murder of Kumanjayi Walker, a 19-year-old Indigenous person. The fatal incident occurred after police responded to a disturbance in the remote Yuendumu community. Frost 2022. Rolfe was stabbed in the shoulder with a pair of medical scissors while attempting to subdue Walker. Sylvester 2022. When another police officer intervened, Rolfe discharged 3 shots, one of which led to Walker's death an hour later in